our June edition of ExtraHop TLDR, Tangy Lemonade Delivers Recoil. That one is one of the more creative ones that I have heard so far. Kudos to whichever one of you wrote that, Paul and Justin.
That was all Paul. Nicely done, sir.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Anyway, TLDR, you know what we're here to do, is a quick refresh of what you may have missed in cybersecurity. I'm Rachel Peppel.
Hello, everyone. I'm Paul Diddy.
And I'm Justin Carter. And each month we're going to recap some interesting stories from ExtraHop and other cybersecurity industry leaders so that you don't have to. Everything we talk about today will be available on our blog, and we'll include a link at the end of the broadcast. Rachel, you ready to kick us off with an update from your time at RSA conference?
I sure am. So RSA conference this year, my buddy Hugh Thompson, who runs programs, and he's also a managing director at one of our investors, Crosspoint Capital. He mentioned that there were 22,000, I think, that they thought they were going to have, and there was like 27,000 or a little more who actually attended RSA this year. It definitely feels like we're back open for business.
That's great. That's great. Lots of folks showing up.
Absolutely. And you know, frankly, a lot of our customers showed up. We got to have a lot of really interesting conversations with customers as well as with some non-customers, which was awesome. And I have to say, guys, the topic du jour this time around was definitely XDR. And I'm excited to share more a little bit later about what we're doing with CrowdStrike on that front.
Absolutely. And speaking of customers too, we were doing a Oakley sunglasses promo. If you do a review on Gartner and G2, we would send you could pick up a pair of Oakleys. We're going to keep doing that, but now you can just mail it in. So that's right. So once your reviews are in, head over to the website. We'll put the link here in the blog, and no need to show back up to RSA because we're not there. We will mail them to you. And so check them out. Oakley frog skins, but not real frog skins. They're solid black. They're pretty slick. They look cool. Yep.
Yeah, they did a good job with those.
And speaking of things that looks like, if you missed the video game at RSA, definitely come visit us with Black Hat. It's pretty fun. I think one of these days we will try to put it online. Did you hear, guys, that I think we had one person play it like 30 times, and he did, in fact, end up with the high score. So
that's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, there was a leaderboard on there too. I know folks were trying to make their way up that leaderboard. So we'll have to maybe figure out a way to get the all-time greats back together somehow, some way down the line. That'd be great.
Totally. My kids loved playing it. So
as did mine. Mine tried it out. They were like, this is pretty good. So yeah.
Okay, but now we should actually talk about CrowdStrike.
Yes, this is our next big event. Earlier this week, we hosted a webinar with CrowdStrike on how to make XDR a reality.
And really, this is a big one, folks. ExtraHop RevealX and CrowdStrike Falcon already work better together. But with our newest release of RevealX, we have a new and even more robust set of integrations that really make these two technologies work together in an incredibly powerful way for our joint customers.
That's right. We've introduced a new push-button response capability that dramatically speeds up attack containment while also minimizing disruptions.
Yep, and you'll also be able to go from detection to quarantine to investigation in a single click. This will allow you to contain threats much faster.
Yeah, and really, I mean, what that means, Paul, is like from a detection within the ExtraHop RevealX UI, you actually can click a button that says quarantine the device associated with that detection. And so you go right from there, and then it automatically drops you into an investigation workflow to figure it out, what happened, where it came from, what other devices are affected. And so it's a really cool integration that makes it fast for people to respond when threat activity is out there. But frankly, keeps the control in the hands of the security analyst who's in the best position to make that informed decision. Speaking of devices, and I know I'm supposed to throw this in here, you will also be able to continuously identify and prioritize vulnerable devices with this new integration. And also, webinar, we're cutting each other off because that's what you do on Zoom. Sorry, Paul, Justin, go for it.
Oh no, I was gonna say that's awesome. Being able to do that and drop them off into containment is pretty amazing. So yeah, looking forward to that and seeing how you're diving deeper and checking that out more.
For sure. And by the way, that webinar, you will be able to watch it on demand. It'll be up on our website soon. Keep an eye out for it. And if you registered and you weren't able to attend, we will automatically send you that link. So look out for that in your inbox.
Now it's time for Threat of the Month. And this time we're going to teach you a little bit about denial of service or DOS attacks.
Essentially, a DOS attack is a tactic that overloads a machine or network to make it unavailable and unable to provide services to its normal users. So common targets include email, online banking, or service that relies on a targeted network or computer.
Now, your typical DOS attack can actually be pretty straightforward to prevent because they're coming from a single source. It's when you get to a distributed denial of service or DDoS attack where things get really tricky. This is where the traffic is used to overwhelm the target. This is where the traffic used to overwhelm the target comes from many sources, which means the attack can't be stopped just by simply blocking one source of traffic. You're really just getting hit from all sides.
Mm-hmm. And DDoS attacks come in a variety of flavors, like Smurf attacks, and no, not the cute blue creatures.
I was going to say, are they blue? Blue screen of death? Maybe?
Blue screen of death. This form sends packets that spoof the victim's IP source IP, slowing things to a halt. There's also SYN flood attacks, in which the attacker pretends to be a client and forces the host to keep open lines of traffic. And an increasingly common form is Layer 7, which reminds me of the 7-layer burritos at Taco Bell. Targets at...
I thought you were going to say 7-layer dip, but okay, yeah.
7-layer dip is also really good.
You got to get that fire sauce, Paul. Got to get that fire sauce.
Mm-hmm. These target a specific service instead of the entire network. So attackers that can initiate these DDoS attacks by employing botnets.
You know, it's really interesting about that, right? You know, for those who are like layer 7, that's network speak. Layer 7 is the application layer, right? And this is another reason, guys, why I think it is so important that security and application teams really work together. Because if you're the application holder, understanding what's happening and being able to see the early signs of an attack like this can be the difference between your service getting shut down and the ability to keep that service online. So it's another reminder of why having the collaboration between those teams is so important.
Right. And now I always enjoy my spoofs and goofs in movies that I watch, but not in my system. So the best line of defense for DDoS attacks involves streamlining your incident response, patching known endpoint vulnerabilities, and continuously monitoring your network.
That's right. The more you know about what normal inbound traffic looks like, the quicker you'll spot the start of a DDoS attack. Real-time visibility with network detection and response is a really efficient and reliable way to understand what your network should look like and what the traffic should look like so that you can detect any sneaky smurfing or spoofing. Oh my goodness, let's talk about tongue twisters. Sneaky Got it.
So there you have it. So head over to our tech glossary to learn more about DOS attacks and DDoS attacks and how to keep your organization clear of Smurfs, spoofs, and 7-layer burritos.
See, you did it to yourself, Paul.
Yeah.
Smurfs, spoofs, and yeah, all the things.
Now let's take a look at some cyber news around the internet. In a recent post from the Register, the research firm Coleman Parks interviewed roughly 1,000 CIOs on whether they felt their organizations were vulnerable to supply chain attacks. And the results were quite staggering, with 82% of respondents saying yes.
You know, Justin, honestly, I'm a little surprised that's not higher. I participated a few days ago as a moderator, but in a panel with some CISOs talking about supply chain vulnerabilities. And I think, you know, really the prevailing sentiment is it's almost impossible not to be vulnerable. There's so much open source out there. There are so many technologies. Even if you don't have shadow IT or a lot of shadow IT going on, it's really hard to keep track of what you have and what different components those various software products are using. So I'm actually surprised it's not higher. It's a problem.
Right. It's almost like 1 in 5 says, no, we're okay. And you're like, it seems a little almost kind of troubling, right?
I mean, and hey, good for them, but it's definitely something. And I think, you know, the good news out of this Coleman Parks report, right, is that 85% of these IT chiefs said that they've actually been directed by their corporate leadership, the CEO or the corporate board, to take action to improve the security of software development and build environments, which really means that corporate leaders and not just IT folks are standing up and taking notice, and that this has a top-down kind of buy-in as a thing that we need to be addressing.
Absolutely. So yeah, you can check out that full story on their website. I mean, it sounds like a lot of IT teams are getting started, but the overall confidence still remains a little low.
Yeah, but at least maybe headed in the right direction. So
right, for sure. And finally, if you are using Google Chrome, you may want to update your browser. Pro tip, you will always should update your browser.
In general, you should update things, your phone, your browser. If there's an update,
Always.
Just go ahead and update that. But yeah, this one, Chrome Loader, is a browser hijacking malware, and it's becoming much more widespread, using PowerShell to inject itself into Chrome and add a malicious extension through optimal disk images or ISO files. But this, like, I know you're going to lose your tabs, folks, but it's worth it. You just need to do this.
It is terrible to lose your tabs. I agree, but yeah, this is the upside is worth it.
You can always get them back. Yep.
Sometimes I don't want them back. I don't want them back.
Yeah. I mean, with so many applications being browser-based these days, it's a logical place for cyber criminals to put their code. So the best defense is practicing cyber hygiene and user education.
Exactly. So check your security controls and never launch or run any ISO files that are not from trusted sources, or without verifying their safety.
And you have to be extra careful with unmanaged and remote devices. If you're not sure if your security features are strong enough, check in with your support team and practice all of the best zero trust principles. That's really a good step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's going to do it for this month's TLDR. I'm Paul Diddy.
I'm Justin Carter.
And I'm Rachel Peppel, and you can find all of the stories we've discussed today on our blog by heading to the link below, extrahop.com/TLDR.
We'll be back next month for more stories and all things cybersecurity.
Thanks for joining us, and stay safe out there.